Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. How is everyone doing this evening? Happy and blessed Monday, and welcome to episode 592 of the Welcome to Asgard podcast, where tonight we'll have our final push for the Raven Award nominations because we are running out of days. This Friday evening will be the cutoff for submitting your nominations for what you think are some of the best and worst movies of 2025, some of the best and worst people of 2025, amongst many other fun categories. And so if you have not filled out your nominations form, right, this is you to submit your own nominations. There is a short list of options available. You do not have to choose of those options, though. You can choose the other and obviously nominate your own films. Someone at one point, had asked actually a question as their nomination saying, why isn't Snow White listed here? Well, because this is not the official nominations. These are just the short list ones that were listed in the actual form itself. And so please, if you have films that you want to see on that list that are not currently on there, you are more than welcome to put in whatever films or people you think deserve to be on there. And then we'll shut down that on Friday. So that's this Friday, the 16th. I will then calculate all the things, and then we will reveal our nominations on Monday. So a week from today, the Raven Award nominations, the official nominations for this year's Raven Awards will be announced. Very exciting times. We are in the midst of Raven Awards season, even though Hollywood is continuing on its typical nonsense with the Golden Globes having happened this past weekend. And of course, if you know me, you know that the Golden Globes are the place where, the points don't matter. That's right. Everything is fake. Everything is made up, and the points don't matter. In this case, the awards do not matter. They have as much objective value as I would even say the Raven Awards themselves, which is just something that I do here on the channel, despite the fact that I think it is a much better time. We have a lot of fun here on Raven Awards night, which will not be until, I think, sometime in March, whenever the Oscars are. We kind of program that. We boycott and we resist the Oscars here at OMB Reviews. And so please make sure to stick around for all of those various events. And again, nominations for the Ravens. You can find a link to the form in the video description. I did put the form in the video description and the live stream description today. So that way it does not have to be posted over and over again. You just go to the description for this live stream, whether you are watching over on Rumble or over on YouTube, and you will see the link there. Click on it. The code to enter is 1566-1566. And then once you are there, you can then submit your nominations. Now, you do have to submit in every category. You don't have to put an answer necessarily, right? You can choose other for an option and just put not available, not applicable, have no idea. Whatever it is that you want to put is fine, but every category does need to be filled, and that is something that I put in there just to make sure that no one accidentally were to submit a form before they were actually done. And so that's the reason why that is there. But anyway, let's go ahead and say hello to our people who are hanging out in the chat tonight, because we'll talk, of course, about the Ravens, and we'll do our typical box office discussion. Now, I tried, if you were watching last week, you know that this happened. I tried to see if I could fix some of the audio issues that we were having. The math video, for some reason, was not actually having the audio play, even though everything on my end was showing that it should. Everything on my end was showing that it should be playing. And so I, decided to reboot. I decided to do all the things that you're supposed to do. I checked all the audio sources, etc. And I'm still having the same issue where I cannot hear it, even though I have in the audio settings, I have monitoring on. So it should be playing back for me to be able to hear it. But it, again, for some reason, is not. So hopefully it plays for y'all tonight. But, we'll see how it goes. In fact, let's go ahead and just get things started off with, hopefully, what will be our math video, because I owe it to y'all, and hopefully the audio plays. Please let me know in the chat if the audio plays, and then that way we can pick up from there. So let's go ahead and see if it works.
Let's see a real mathematician at work!
All right, so hopefully it's time for some math. We'll see what happens, but again, everything on my end, the audio mixer is saying that there is sound coming out, even though I can't actually hear it, even on my own headphones. Banjo Sandwich saying, we got math, yay. We heard it. Boom. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Don't know exactly what I did, and again, the issue is still there so that I can't hear it, so it's no way for me to know whether the videos will ever even work. So always let me know, like y'all did last time, if another issue actually passes, or actually comes up. So anyway, y'all deserve to have that early tonight since we had those issues last time. Let's go ahead and say hello to people in the chat, though. Snorapoopus Cuber, hello, woman and other quitteth. What's going on with Snorapoopus? He then tells me, hello, how to you? Snorapoopus, always great to have you here. Jeremy Zakowski, what's going on, good sir? Yeah, I mentioned this on social media the other day, saying here, evening Odin, everyone on here. It's official. Godzilla Minus Zero will come to the United States on November 6, 2026. Just how I predict, and just how I predicted. And oh man, hate when you double post, man. There's no need to double post, especially if it's saying the same exact thing. I just had just how I predict, so that's still there. And November 6th is also my birthday. Thank you, Toho, for the early birthday gift. Yes, indeed. We officially got word of that, and so that is now easily my automatic most anticipated film of 2026. Very easy choice. You know, other than Project Hail Mary, which I have a lot of interest in, that really is the only film I'm genuinely looking forward to because of how much I enjoyed Godzilla Minus One. So, James Zakowski, thank you for hanging out tonight. We got Wendy Hunter. Wendy! What's going on, Wendy? Saying, I hope everyone had a good Monday. I hope you had a great Monday as well. It's always crazy when Monday comes around. I'm always like, oh man, I have a stream tonight. What's going on here? What is the deal? It's crazy. Crazy. All right, Mr. Banjo Sandwich of the Worthington fame says, Globes done, Ravens to come. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I think I checked I saw a couple of the winners being mentioned last night. The Golden Globes have just lost all relevancy. I remember back in the day, and I mention this all the time. All right, it's story time with Odin. I used to care about the Oscars, used to care about all the award shows. I would follow them from all of the Guild Awards and everything like that. I used to know all the stats about you need an editing nomination to have any chance of winning an Oscar for Best Picture, because it's very, very rare that ever happens where you win an Oscar for Best Picture without at least an editing nomination, amongst many other factoids that were out there. And I remember with the Globes, they've always been seen as a joke. And the one that always comes to mind, I bring it up every time, is that there was a terrible film called The Tourist with Johnny Depp, and it was nominated for Best Comedy. And it was so bad that even the people were there joking, saying, yeah, literally this movie got nominated because the Hollywood Foreign Press wanted to hang out with Johnny Depp, and it was the movie he was in that year. And so it's like, yeah, of course they got nominated because they wanted to hang out with those stars. It's all about the access, right? The Golden Globes, again, it's the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. So it's literally about, hey, who do they want to hang out with this year? Who do they want to actually be present at their award show? And so that's the reason why those just awards never matter in any way. So, man, oh man. Always funny where it's like, oh yeah, that's right. Those are happening this year. The only time the Golden Globes had any relevancy was when Ricky Gervais was hosting, just because it was always great to listen to him just roast everybody in Hollywood. Forever Sci-Fi says, hail to you. We got Gandalf 1477. We got Kimberly G, Killian Shadowcat. What is going on, Kimberly G? Welcome back. Always great to have you here. Well, let's see. Forever Sci-Fi hanging out in the chat. We got Prince Screen saying, hail Odin in chat. Hail to you, Prince Screen. Thank you for being here. We got the Morak hanging out, who's a member here on the channel, as was Prince Screen and Forever Sci-Fi, and Wendy Hunter for that matter. Thank you all again for being awesome members here. But Morak says, howdy, Odin. Happy Monday. Happy Monday to you as well. Happy Monday to you as well. JS Pena hanging out in the chat. What's going on, JS Pena? We got Wendy Hunter saying, I still need to get my nominations in. Yes, you do. And the time is a-ticking. Your time is running out. Now, as I said, if you don't have a nomination for every category, that's okay. Just make sure you fill in the other option and then put anything you really want. But if you don't want to have an actual vote in that category, you can say pass or something similar. NA works too. Prince Screen, who's a member, saying, the Ravens are cool. The People's Award show. My third year coming up for the Ravens. Nice! Been here for 3 years. It's kind of crazy that the channel started so long ago at this point. I mean, I always think about it as a teacher, in years of, oh man, I can't believe I've been with this school for so many years. And I can't believe that I've actually been teaching at this point, I've been teaching for over a decade, which is just kind of an insane concept. Like I remember it was like my first year. It feels like it was yesterday, honestly, where it was like, man, that first year was so rough. And then the second year was a little bit better, but still rough. Third year, okay, starting to get the hang of things. And then ever since then, it's yeah, obviously you've got your highs and your lows, but it honestly was kind of amazing how, some of my best friends who were teachers, like kind of laid that out, right? Of, give it 3 years and, you'll find your stride. And now it's like, now I'm considered, I guess, a veteran teacher. Is that where you are when you enter into 10 years? And so anyway, our first Raven Awards was all the way back in 2019, where we were commemorating the best films of 2018. So let me do some math real quick. And it's amazing, as the math guy on here, it's hard for me to do mental math sometimes. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This will be our 8th annual Raven Awards. The 8th annual Raven Awards. 8 years in a row. Wow. That means I've been doing YouTube now for 8 years. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. That's crazy. Oh my goodness gracious. Going back all the way there. And actually, I'll go ahead and pull this up so that way we can reminisce together, because it was man, the times, they haven't really changed all that much, I think, as far as like the quality of films, even back from 2018. But yeah, our best movie of the year was Avengers Infinity War, which I think was a great choice. Mission Impossible Fallout was high on that list. There was a lot of love for Aquaman that year too, even though I was not, the biggest of fans of that. Deadpool 2 was on that list. Spider-Man: The Spider-Verse, Bohemian Rhapsody, Quiet Place, Green Book, Upgrade, Bad Times, El Royale. Those were all of our nominations. I like it because we have like the typical ones that you would expect from like mass appeal type movies, like Avengers Infinity War, for instance, up there. But you also had some interesting ones, like the fact that Green Book, at Upgrade, Bad Times. My favorite film of that year was Bad Times at the El Royale. So I was happy to see that on the list. Of course, no one got to see it. At the time, it was the Kathleen Kennedy Ryan Johnson Award for Excellence in Craft World Building. Now, that is a title that is outdated. It's now the Kathleen Kennedy Ryan Johnson and Zack Snyder Award for Excellence in Craft World Building. We had to add him in to that list because it's just, it was too perfect. A Wrinkle in Time was our worst film of the year that year. That's amazing. Lifetime Achievement, the first ever, right, went to Stan Lee. Very well earned there. Best Original Story went to Infinity War. Best Low Budget, Vader, Shards of the Past. Remember when Star Wars Theory made Vader, Shards of the Past? I haven't followed his channel as much more recently, but has he made more? I felt like there was going to be a follow-up. The most unnecessary remake of that year was Ocean's 8. Remember when that film came out? Star is Born was the best pointless remake. It wasn't too bad of a remake there. Most underrated film of 2018 went to Aquaman. I kind of disagree with that. But hey, it was there. Annihilation actually got nominated for most underrated film. I hated that movie, but that's the reason why. It's not my list. It's what you, the people, vote for. Most overrated film was Black Panther. Man, whew. That year too. Black Panther, Solo Star Wars Story, Ready Player One, Black Klansman, Venom. Ooh, man. Most critically acclaimed piece of garbage film 2018 was Black Panther. That was cool to see. Shill of the Year, the first ever Shill of the Year, went to Scott Mendelsohn. Scotty Boy. That was back when he was at Forbes. Most pointless character, L337 from Solo. Good gracious, man, that movie. Most iconic film, remembered for years to come, still is Infinity War. That still very much is true. Worst story and writing, A Wrinkle in Time. It was so bad. Breakthrough performance, Rami Malek, Bohemian Rhapsody. Best fight scene, Mission Impossible, Fallout, the bathroom scene. That was a pretty good scene. Glad to see Upgrade up there. Best director 2018, The Russos. Oh man, how far they have fallen since 2018. Oh man, because obviously I was pulling for John Krasinski because I thought Quiet Place was a phenomenal movie. Most SJW screenwriter was Jennifer Lee of A Wrinkle in Time. Best cinematography went to Infinity War. Again, I had some issues with that. Again, I like Infinity War quite a bit, but not for best cinematography. I feel like our audience has also grown quite a bit. Our palette has expanded a bit. I feel like our options and winners have gotten better over the years. Best visual effects was Avengers Infinity War. NPC of the year, our first NPC of the year, was Brie Larson. That was the year of Brie Larson. Best animated movie was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Not my pick, but that's what the people wanted. Best stunt work, Mission Impossible Fallout, obviously. And then best one-liner was, "You're so dark, you're sure you're not from the DC universe?" That was a pretty good line. I liked, "Why is Gamora?" Dude, you're embarrassing me in front of the Wizards. But who are you kidding, Quill? You're one sandwich away from fat from Rocket Raccoon. Man, there was some good stuff that year. There was some good stuff. But yeah, we are crazy to think we're going into our 8th annual Raven Awards. Let's go ahead and back into the chat. Forever Sci-Fi says, "I didn't know they had the Golden Globes until after their worthless show, and only because of their latest cause. The only cause for the Ravens is calling Jeremy out for shilling." Yeah, it was pretty amazing. For those that might be new, Jeremy Griggs, Geeks and Gamers. Much love to my brother, my boss, as I still do work for Geeks and Gamers. Right, I write for geeksandgamers.com every Sunday. Box office breakdown. Check those out if you want a much more condensed version of my box office breakdown without my random ramblings, as some people may not be able to put up with with my 20 minutes of talking plus sometimes. It's much more condensed in the written format there. So geeksandgamers.com, check that out. But it was funny because there was a good 2-3 years where Jeremy Griggs was getting nominated and winning Shill of the Year. I think he won, 2 years in a row? And then he finally lost to John Campea. John Campea finally won Shill of the Year. And I think that was, last year? Let's go ahead and pull that one up, actually. Because I forget sometimes. My memory isn't as good. Also, you'll see the production value has gone up quite a bit, right? That was just a list. I've intended to go back in time and to kind of revamp all of them to match the kind of like the modern format of what I developed starting just a few years ago. And that's, of course, using my typical yellow tinting and such. But I mean, look at how much better this is, right? You had the nominations in this nice little slideshow. You had the actual video of the nominations, and then you had the actual winners. So we had, best one-liner or quote of 2024. There's only been one blade. There's only ever gonna be one blade, from Deadpool Wolverine. What kind of American are you? Forgot about that film. Some mother effers are still trying to ice skate uphill, from Deadpool Wolverine. Maybe this is what happens when you grow up. You feel less joy. That was from Inside Out 2. Still a film I have not actually seen. And then Sucker Fox, I'm going to Disneyland, from Deadpool Wolverine. That film obviously got a lot of love, and There's Only Ever Been One Blade was the clear winner. And it was not even close, right? 41% of the vote went to that. Best stunt work. There were some pretty good stunts last year. Fall Guy, Deadpool Wolverine, Furiosa, Rebel Ridge, Boy Kills World, especially those bottom two. Very underrated. The Fall Guy, though, ended up winning. It makes sense, right? It was the film about stunt people, so pretty nice to see that up there. It got 37% of the vote, so not really too close there. I was glad to see Boy Kills World with some love there. It was a pretty good film. It's a pretty enjoyable film. The beginning is probably my favorite part because it's just so did not expect it to kind of go this way. The best animated films, we actually had some of the best animated films, I think, back in 2024. Because, we had Inside Out 2. I haven't seen it, can't say much about it, but Flow was so good for having no dialogue at all and for literally just following a cat. The animation was beautiful. And I remember I showed it to my kids for the first time, and my son was just mesmerized by it. And it was just one of those things where it's you really just don't need words or anything. The story is just so just compelling by itself. And really, it's the animation that tells the story in such an effective way. Yeah, Transformers 1, which honestly, I remember not expecting to like at all. And so I ended up enjoying it quite more than I thought I actually would. It was much better than I thought it was going to be. Wild Robot, though, was also up there. It was one of my favorite films. Another film that my son really enjoyed. And then Never Saw Memoirs of a Snail, but again, I heard the good things about it. Wild Robot won that one. I was stuck between Wild Robot and Flow because I just thought they were such great films. That was one, too, where, again, 32% of the vote went to Wild Robot, and then 24% of the vote went to Flow, which I was happy to see. Our NPC nominations were Rachel Zegler, Kamala Harris, Amanda Stenberg, John Roca, and Grace Randolph, and it went to Rachel Zegler. Last year was pretty much her year, so it makes sense. Brie Larson, the first ever show, got NPC of the year because that was her year. Rachel Zegler, 2024 was her year, so it makes sense for her to have gotten that one. 35% of the vote for her. There was a bit more, political grandstanding, which is why Kamala Harris got in there and got a pretty large percentage of the vote. But I'm glad it was Rachel Zegler because she's actually like a part of like movies and media in that way. Best visual effects, we had some good effects, some not so good effects. Alien Romulus had moments. There was then also that terrible, was it the Rook scene? Twister's Substance's effects were insane. That movie just still disturbs me, but good visual effects. Dune Part 2 had amazing effects. Sonic the Hedgehog, people like that. I don't like the Sonic films, honestly. And then Nosferatu had some pretty good effects, too. Dune Part 2 won that one pretty easily. 48%. Again, I think well earned. The visual effects were amazing. Best cinematography, we had, as I said, our palette has grown quite a bit, I think. So Greg Fraser for Dune Part 2, Jaron Blaschke for Nosferatu, Gallo Olivares for Alien Romulus, Giovanni Ribisi for Strange Darling, which, again, one of the best films of that year, my favorite, and then Simon Dugan for Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, and that went to Dune Part 2. I think well earned. 40% of the vote there. Glad to see Giovanni Ribisi, though, doing pretty well. Our stage screenwriters went to Emilia Perez. Oh, man. Remember when that film came out? Good gracious. I'm so glad that all the stuff happened with that one so that it got like nothing at the Oscars that year. Best director was Robert Eggers for Nosferatu, Denis Villeneuve for Dune, Sean Levy for Deadpool Wolverine, David Leitch for The Fall Guy, and then J.T. Molnar for Strange Darling. Such a great film. Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2 won. 28% of the vote. J.T. Molnar got 18%, which made me happy. Robert Eggers had a pretty good shot at Nosferatu. Robert Eggers for Nosferatu, 23.2% of the vote. Our best fight scene went to the Honda Odyssey fight from Deadpool Wolverine. As a dad who has a van, I love that scene quite a bit. 32% of the vote for that one. Breakthrough performance went to Lily Rose Depp for Nosferatu. Again, she was a pretty strong favorite for the most part, right? 28% of the vote. Glenn Powell for Twisters, not too far behind. Where Story went to Joker 2. Man, I'm glad that I've like forgotten that film until just this moment. Because, gosh, it was such a bad film. 32% of the vote there. Madam Web close behind. Madam Web is one of those movies where it's still bad. It's really bad, but at least there's some entertainment value there. Our most iconic film of the year was Deadpool Wolverine. I think that's still holding very much true. Nosferatu, you don't really hear people talking about it as much. Wild Robot, again, I wish people had talked about it, but not that really there. Wicked Part 1, only in the context of Wicked Part 2, just not living up to what that film did. And then The Fall Guy was up there too, but Deadpool Wolverine kind of walked away with that one. 41% of the vote. The most pointless character went to Arthur Fleck for Joker 2. That one just, again, made the most sense. 36% of the vote. Shill of the Year, that's right, Jeremy Griggs was nominated, but so was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Chris Stuckman, man, you know what? Chris Stuckman, I tell you, I feel like he should be nominated for something this year because that dude, it's even worse. All the stuff and all the drama now because of the ads he's been running on his channel. Like he's been he promoted for people who maybe stopped watching Chris Stuckman. I don't blame you. I stopped watching him years ago too. Used to watch him all the time though, because he used to actually be really good. He actually used to have really keen insights, and I still remember he helped quite a bit in breaking down the film Enemy, for instance, with Jake Gyllenhaal. And so I know some people are like trying to say like he was never good and he was never like, okay, whatever. I think that you could at the very least say he at one point was something, and now it's just he's become this shell of his former self. And so apparently he's been promoting things like a loan shark app. So it's like now he's promoting loan shark apps, and then just before that he had been promoting like online gambling. And it's just like, okay, dude, clearly it's showing that you are desperate for some kind of money. I don't know if it's because his donations have dried up to a certain level or a certain degree, and he just feels like he needs to get this to make his next movie. I don't know, because his first theatrical debut was not the hit that they were hoping it to be, right? Shelby Oaks just made its money back, but man, oh man, I think it was it Film Threat? I think it was Chris Gore and Alan, breaking down on Film Threat. Or no, it wasn't them. It was EFAP. EFAP has had some really great roast of Chris Stuckman, and one of the things that they were doing was actually saying, okay, let's look at some of the other horror films, like low-budget horror films, and look at just what their total profit margins were. And it was like, when you put those films up against Shelby Oaks, it actually becomes that much worse. Because it's like, okay, barely breaking even, a little bit of profit, that's not bad. But then you look at some of these other films with low budgets and just how much profits they actually made, and how much total box office they even made compared to their budgets. Insane. So I feel like he should be up there this year. Jeremy Griggs, though, of course, was the perpetual nominee for a couple years in a row. John Campea, he has been a nominee for almost, I think, every single year and never won it. And then for some reason I got nominated. I don't know exactly why. I'm sure it was because I was enjoying some movies, and so people didn't like that. But I got nominated too. And but luckily it was John Campea who ended up winning that one. It was such a close race, though. Right, 28% of the vote went to John Campea. Jeremy, that starts to fall off a bit. People not, the joke kind of played out for 2 years in a row. He got 18% of the vote still. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Chris Duckman both tied with 20%. So it was pretty evenly distributed. Luckily, I got very little, which I was very happy to see. But that was definitely John Campea's year. The most critically acclaimed piece of garbage film was Civil War. I think this is the reason why, actually, because I defended Civil War. I actually really enjoy the film much more than others do. And it's because when I look at the film, I take it as a criticism of the media because it really doesn't present them in the best light. I think that it basically, what you take into the film is what you get out of it. So if you think it's going to be promoting liberal ideologies, then that's what you're going to try to read into it. Whereas for me, I looked at it, I'm like, I think even objectively, you're seeing something very, very different. But that's just me. But again, the people voted otherwise. They thought that was a critically acclaimed piece of garbage film. 32% of the vote there. Most overrated film of the year was Deadpool Wolverine, which was fun to see because, like, hey, it's the most iconic film of the year. It's some of the people's favorite film of the year, but it's also seen as the most overrated film of the year as well. Surprised that, it actually had won that. It got 23% of the vote to Dune Part 2's 20%, Alien Romulus with 18%, Wicked with 20%, Civil War 16%. So pretty close, pretty evenly distributed stuff, actually, for that one. Most underrated film of the year went to The Fall Guy. Was glad to see that because it was a pretty good film, 27% of the vote. I obviously wanted films like Late Night with the Devil, which was pretty good. The Bike Riders was also one, which was a solid film, one of my favorite films of that year as well. But Fall Guy ended up pulling that one away. The best pointless remake, prequel, etc., was Deadpool Wolverine, which got 33% of the vote, so pretty solid. And then the worst of them went to Joker 2, no surprise, 46%, Domination. The best low-budget films, we had Terrifier 3, crazy how little that film cost. Am I Racist? Remember that film came out. Late Night with the Devil only cost $2 million, which was pretty solidly made. Superman the documentary, $15 million there. And then Rogue Elements, Ryan Drake's story, that was the Critical Drinker film, right? $300,000 for that. And then Am I Racist won that one. I was happy to see that. Very funny film. If you've not seen that one before, very, very funny. Got 36% of the vote. Best story went to The Wild Robot. Happy to see that. Great film. 37%. Lifetime Achievement Award, our nominees were Dennis Quaid, Anthony Hopkins, Carl Weathers, James Earl Jones, J.K. Simmons. It went to James Earl Jones, right? Rest in peace. We had lost Carl Weathers and James Earl Jones, and so it makes sense why they were kind of the two big contenders there. He got 35% of the vote. Carl Weathers, 22.4% of the vote. And then our Kathleen Kennedy, Ryan Johnson, and Zack Snyder Award for Excellence in Craft World Building went to Rebel Moon, Part 2, The Scargiver, very appropriately named. And again, totally had forgotten that film had came out. Oh, man. 2024, what a year for terrible movies. I got 36% of the vote, very well deserved. And then our nominees for Best Movie of the Year for 2024 were Deadpool, Wolverine, DD, Dune Part 2, Inside Out 2, Nosferatu, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Strange Darling, The Fall Guys, The Substance, Transformers 1, The Bike Riders, and the winner actually was Nosferatu. That was a big surprise because I thought Deadpool Wolverine is the film that most people have seen. It's the movie that most people have enjoyed. It obviously won a lot of awards. It had its detractors though, so there were a lot of people that ranked this one because we do ranked choice voting to a certain extent on these. So Nosferatu and it actually had a 5.2 rating. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was in second with 5.3. Dune Part 2 then with 5.4. Deadpool Wolverine with 5.47. So again, very, very close votes there. Transformers 1 was then up there. Fall Guy, Bike Riders, Substance, Strange Darling, Inside Out 2, and then DD, because no one unfortunately got to see those last ones. So yeah. So that's just a bit of that's a recap of last year's Raven Awards. So yeah, very excited. Very, very excited for the 8th annual Raven Awards. Speaking of that, Kimberly G saying here, Oscars are March 15th. Odin, I'll be here. Awesome. So that's when the Raven Awards are going to be as well, because we boycott it. We say, screw you, Oscars. We're not going to support you. Jasmine Dragon, what's going on? Super Anime Gamer saying, hey, what is up, my dude? Just finished my Raven Awards form. Nice. Well done. Sorry, my dog's licking herself. You need to stop licking. Stop licking. You're going to lick yourself raw. That's not good. Let's see. Banjo Sandwich saying, make math great again. Absolutely. Always. Banjo Sandwich saying, we got math, yay. So glad that it started to work. Math early, said Wendy. Yes, just to make sure it works. Some Norwegian guy says, all seems fine, awesome. We got Mr. Roy, who instead of his usual, hello, just says, math. Yes. Graptar's hammered. Bro, it's been a while. Graptar's hammer. Glad to have you here. Greetings and blessing. Good evening. Blessings to you as we enter ordinary time. Yes, indeed, our time after Epiphany. As I follow the old calendar. Yes, time after Epiphany. I like it so much better in that regard because ordinary time, it's just like, bleh, right? And I understand it's like, oh, it's trying to say, the ordinary moments of our life. But it's like, I would much rather a season connected with Epiphany. Because being time after Epiphany, it just all it reminds me of is Epiphany, is Three Kings Day, is this time that we're living in of recognizing Christ's kingship, right? That just, to me, makes so much better sense to connect with than just ordinary time. And that's why I like time after Pentecost as well, because like, yes, we're living in the season of Pentecost. That's such a cool thing to think about. Morak also heard it. Glad to hear. Jeremy's a cow's a double post. That is odd. I think there's a glitch on my end. No problem at all, Jeremy. No problem at all. It happens. Garthos Hammer says, when Simple Jack didn't win an Oscar, I was done. Of course. We got Shorty Short saying, hello, Odin in chat. What's going on, Shorty Short? Laura, the Mother Major General story. What's going on, Laura? Kagan Rumsky saying, that's the stuff. Yes, indeed, at 7:38. Ooh, I need to catch up with the chat. Kimberly G saying, I saw The Tourist. It was definitely not a comedy. Nope. It was not funny. It was quite painful to watch, actually. Print screen, I still have a mental image at Tom Hanks' face when reacting to Ricky Gervais's jokes. I know exactly the image that you're talking about. Banjo Sandwich saying, dropped some new noms in Boom. Nice. Yeah, for those that don't know, you can actually fill out the form more than once. I allow for that. However, of course, I do wish and hope for people to not abuse that. So that's why if I see people who are putting in the same nominations over and over and over again, I'm not going to count those. All right. Because I don't want people to try to control what's being said. We've had a few nominations. We've had a few nominations coming in. So that's really cool to see. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, to say the least, to see which films actually get our nominations. We have, let's see, as of right now, we have 119 submissions. So 119. That's for our nominations, that's actually a pretty good number. Because nominations are usually when less people are involved. People just want to vote for winners. They don't want to vote for nominees. So that's why I'm glad I started doing the short list, because it gives people options. Because sometimes it's hard. Like, what did I even watch in 2025? Like, what is even good or bad? When you have a short list, you're like, oh, that's right. This came out. And I saw this, didn't see that. Let's see. Shorty Short saying, do you think the 0 in -0 is a reference for Ghidorah? I mean, maybe. I mean, I know a lot more about Godzilla than the average person, but I'm definitely not a Godzilla aficionado, right? There's so much that I don't know. And most of what I know is because my son really likes Godzilla, and there's a book that's an encyclopedia, literally, of Godzilla and all of the different characters that he fights. And he would have me read that every night for a long period of time. We've moved away from that one, actually. Happily, we've moved to, it's like the children's Bible that he's actually really enjoyed. So that's been really cool. We're actually almost done, which is sad, but it's also really cool. And I think the plan will be just to, start back from the beginning and hopefully some of the stories begin to stick. But could be. Let's see. Jay Nash, what's going on, good sir? He tagged to say, Odin, you have stayed young as we have grown older. A testament to your Odin nature. Blessings to you, good sir. Well, appreciate it. Definitely have not. I've definitely aged quite a bit. If you go back and watch the beginning videos of the channel, I'm much younger. Voice is different, in fact. Years of speaking to a camera, and in addition to the days of teaching in between those, I think that's taken its toll a little bit. Justin C. Evening all. I think the January film release schedule can be best described by Mr. Freeze. Prepare for a bitter harvest. Winter has come at last. Yes. Of course, anytime I think of Mr. Freeze, I have to think of the Arnold Schwarzenegger version of the character. Jasmine Dragon saying, I think my most anticipated movie of the year is Werewolf. Did you see the Golden Globes announcement? Best score over commercials, but... Did you see the Golden Globes announced the best score over commercials, but aired the best podcast category? It's also stupid. Wow, that is stupid. But also, it's on brand. It's totally on brand for them. And also just reminds you about how that old system is not going to be able to stand. That's the reason why, the plan is for the Oscars to go to YouTube, right, in the next several years. It makes complete sense. It makes complete sense. Because I don't think the current model is going to be able to stand. Banjo Sandwich saying, when you started teaching, they used books and pens and paper. Wow, so rude. Why you gotta be so rude? Thank you, Heimdall. The bot has indeed reminded everybody that the Raven Award nominations form is live. You can actually find it in the description of this live stream video. So you can find the link there. The code to enter is 1566. And fill out the categories that you wish to. Wendy Hunter saying it'll also be my third Ravens. Third? Oh my goodness, Wendy. I feel like it was just yesterday. I feel like you're so young here on the channel. Amazing. Prince Screen. Had to say, 2018 was a pretty cool year for movies. We had peak Marvel and Mission Impossible that year. Both franchises which have massively fallen from grace since. I would definitely say Marvel has fallen much further. Because even though there are issues, and box office wise, especially with the last two Mission Impossible films, they were still quite enjoyable. They still had a lot of entertainment value within them, especially the stunts were just, again, amazing. So at least the Mission Impossible films have that. The MCU has just been garbage. Caveat Ties, what's going on, brother? Welcome back. JS Pena. Time to say, I saw Upgrade a few years ago. Dang, talk about a dark ending. Yeah, seriously. Caveat Ties, Blaine for Shill of the Year. Ooh, what's Blaine? Blaine shills for a lot of films. Blaine has a lot of bad takes. I'm fine with that. But again, I don't get to decide that. Now, I don't like influencing things, and so I won't necessarily say much, but, Okay. Interesting. That's all I'll say. Interesting. It is going to be a very interesting list this year for Shill of the Year. A very, very interesting list. I'm excited. Because, again, there's definitely people who are being targeted, I think. Because it's like, okay, clearly you're targeting specific people that you don't like for whatever reason. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Basically, it's enough to where I'm going to have to count the numbers. I'm going to have to really be like, okay, how many people are getting nominated? How many actual votes do they have? And yeah, very interesting. Banjo Sandwich saying, this is my 15th year as Bandwidth Sandwich on YouTube. Well, congratulations, man. Short saying, interesting. Ravens Remembrances. Yes, indeed. Vivander 807. Yes, very quotable. MCU Campia. MC Ampia U fan. So I know it'd be like MC Campia fan. Hey, what's going on? MC Campia. The winner himself from last year. Vivander, I hunted for John Campia. Yes, Forever Sci-Fi. We've got Super Mario Galaxy and the Odyssey this year. Jeremy may run away with it next. That's very true. Because no matter how good or bad Super Mario Galaxy is, he's going to shill for it. Because he's a Nintendo shill. That's just who he is. Just a part of his personality. And Christopher Nolan as well. J.S. Pena, Inside Out 2 was okay. Yeah, I mean, that's what I've heard. I heard mostly good things about it. But Kagan Rumsky, I agree. My palate is so much better today. I now drink wine with my pinky. Yeah, there you go. All of our palates. Wendy Hunter saying, Madam Web is so bad it's funny. My favorite line still to this day, don't do dumb things. when she's speaking to the high school students in the forest. Just saying out loud is hilarious. Don't do dumb things. Prince Green, until I saw the Ravens from last year's nominations, I forgot that the American Society existed. I know, right? That's what's so cool, is that there's some things that you expect to see there, and you're like, okay, yeah. But then there's others where you're like, what? That came out that year? What's going on? Just Joe, we all know Greenland 2 Migration will win all the awards for 2026. I actually don't think so. I don't think anyone's going to watch it, to be honest. The box office has made it clear that no one's watching it. J.S. Pena, I used to like Chris Duckman myself, but looking back, I should have unsubscribed from him the moment he said Ghostbusters 2016 was better than Ghostbusters 2. Yeah, that's probably, for me, and I don't remember what year this was. Maybe y'all might know more than I, or remember better than I would. The moment he said he would no longer do a top 10 worst, that was when I was like, nope, I'm out. You are foregoing your entire existence as a critic if you're not going to be critical of movies. It was also that moment where it was very clear, oh, so you're doing this because you are afraid that they're going to kick you out of this club that you're trying to get into as a filmmaker. And it didn't happen right away. It took him still many more years to even make his film. And then when he did, it didn't do well. It just made its money back. It made barely any profit. Return on investment wise, it is one of the worst ratios for the horror genre. And when you look at the reviews for the film, even his friends, right? Even people who would be more than likely to be friendly towards him all said the same thing. This is, again, something that E5 did a really good job breaking down. They all said the same thing, which was that he can't write. He's not a writer. Hey, next time when you make a movie, don't write it. That was the same note every time. So what that means when the friends of, or the acquaintances, even people who know him best, are saying that means that the writing was terrible. All right. Remember to put a comment. If you have a comment or question, just put @Odin at the very beginning of your comment. @Odin lets me know you're trying to get my attention. Wendy Hunter, of course, unless you are a member here on the channel. If you're a member, then your comments get highlighted. So Wendy Hunter saying, I have mixed feelings on Civil War. And again, I totally understand. But really, it's all about what you bring into it, though. Prince Green had to say, retroactively, I can say Deadpool Wolverine was very overrated. It was fun, but the reviews it was getting at the time were ridiculously positive. Yeah, absolutely. But I will say this much. I can't speak to the film objectively because for me, I went in expecting to enjoy myself and have that subjectively fun time, and I got that. So it's been so long though, right, that I have not really watched it. I've rewatched a few clips, but I've not rewatched the movie. So yeah, I don't know if the movie would hold up as well, knowing all the different things. Because part of the comedy and part of what was fun was all the things that you didn't know were going to happening. And in hindsight, you're like, okay, but does this actually work for the story or not? All right. J.S. Pena saying, I'm still shocked Nosferatu won that. Me too, man. So surprised. Was not on my list of things that I thought was going to win. And it pulled it up. KK Rumsky had to say, Deadpool Wolverine was a fun movie with member berries, but it was kind of a meaningless movie that didn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, exactly. Sahil. What's going on, Sahil? Caveat Tyson says, take your lickings. Sahil, I got tickets to go see Lord of the Rings Trilogy Extended Edition in theaters this weekend. You going? Bro, I got kids. I got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. There's no way I have time to go to the theater and watch the extended editions for a couple of reasons. One, I got kids. Two, I will fall asleep. Not because the movies are boring, but because the only time I would have to actually watch them would be at night, and that's the worst time for me to watch a longer film. Banjo Sam saying, time to pencil it in your calendar. March 15th. Yes, indeed. Sunday, March 15th. We will, indeed, boycott the Oscars. Mikey Dreamer. What's going on, good sir? Hey, Odin. Late to the party. You excited that Godzilla -1 got a release date November 6th? Very excited. Yeah, bro. Where you been? We talked about that at the beginning of the stream. One of the first comments I read, actually. But yes, I am. Most anticipated film of the year by far. Short saying, yeah, I'm still not sure how The Bear got labeled a comedy. Yeah. I remember that. Hardwick. Speaking of reactions to Ricky Gervais' monologue, there's Hardwick. Did you see Kate Blanchett's reaction? It looked like a cross between amusement and facepalming. I didn't, but, you know, it's been so long. It's like I watch it for Ricky Gervais' comments more so than anything else. Banjo saying, only 119 people, under 119 votes get voting people. Yeah. But remember, it is for the nominations. So that's actually pretty good for nominations. It's actually pretty good for nominations. Short saying, I had a picture Bible as a kid that I loved. It was really the Bible's best stories in comic book form. Oh, nice. That's cool. Yeah, there was one that I had, and actually I was able to find it at my parents' house. It had some damage to it, so that's why I haven't really introduced it to him yet. But it's like a children's youth Bible. So it's definitely one that I would like to introduce. Maybe that would be after maybe going through the one we currently have, because it's much more of like a kidsy version. So it leaves out certain things that, you know, kids don't really need to know about just yet, and words things a little bit differently. But yeah, overall for like a first introduction, it's not bad. Hardwick then says, what do you think of the Batman casting announcement? Sebastian Stan as Harvey Dent, Scarlett Johansson as Gilda Gold / Dent. First I'm hearing about it. Sebastian Stan's a very talented actor, so I could see him pulling that off. And actually, I don't really know that much about the character because I'm not a comics person of Gilda Gold, but Scarlett Johansson can sometimes work in certain roles. Hard to say. See, Jeremy Zakowski saying there is speculation that Hedorah will appear in -0. Yamazaki did say a while back that they would love to add him to sequel because he feels today visual effects will do him justice. Okay. Hedorah, he's the smog monster. I always get them confused because like there's Abira. I think again I might be mispronouncing these things. This is how I've been pronouncing them. Abira is the giant like lobster monster, right? And then Hedorah, I believe, is like the smog monster. Yes, that's right. It could. Hedorah is actually one of my sons, even though he's never seen the film, one of my son's favorite because in the book we have in the encyclopedia, it goes through his different phases, and he likes that a lot. So, yeah. We had 120 nominations now submitted. Very, very cool. I like those 2 choices, by the way, for the best and the worst films. I would agree with it to a certain extent. But that's all I'll say. Let's see. Short saying, just Googled Hedorah. That looks like Sigmund the sea monster. Aw, you leave Hedorah alone. I like Hedorah. I like Hedorah a lot. Yeah, I just love its different phases and how it has a flying form and everything else attached to it. Hardwick saying, my favorite adaptation of The Odyssey is still O Brother, Where Art Thou? Very good film. It's a very, very, very good film. Jess Pena, I always forget that it's an adaptation of the Odyssey. The one thing that I hate about that movie, though, is the fake singing done by George Clooney. It's just so fake. It's just so, love the song, love the music, hate his fake singing of it. I am a man of constant sorrow. So good. Micro Dreamer. January definitely is a weak month for box office, but there can be some hidden gems, enjoyable films, enjoyable films that get found. Oh yeah, absolutely. Most years there's a gem or two that can find their way through the darkness, but it really is the month where films go to die, right? Unless you pull a Megan from a few years back. Megan surprised a lot of people, was a lot better than people were expecting. Box office wise, did so much more than anyone could have anticipated. But it's very rare that happens. Very rare. Prince Green saying, I should throw my hat in the ring and say I watched Greenland 2. I liked it too, but I'm a Gerard Butler fanboy, so take that with a grain of salt. Well, there you go. At least you're honest, though. At least you're honest. Chaz Pena, I saw Greenland 2 this weekend with my dad. Meh. Yeah, I've had no interest to see any of the films. I've not seen the first film. Actually, no, scratch that. I may have actually watched the first film, or at least I tried to. And I was just like, eh. Vander, tagged to say, Baby Thor is 5. What, the Asgard? It was just yesterday that we were celebrating his birth on Friday Night Tights. I know, seriously. Yeah, Baby Thor is now Little Thor. He's 5. And then I have a daughter now, too, who we call the Lady Sif, and she's 2. And she is such a little princess, let me tell you. She finally got her big girl room. And it's been like a hit and miss thing. She's getting used to it. And her new thing is that she gets scared. I'm not saying that she's not scared. She's 2. And so, creaking floors and stuff can definitely do that. But it's like she comes out of the room and then she's just, you open the door and she's just there. And she's got the big eyes. She's like she's like working up tears and just like, oh, it's okay, baby girl. It's okay. So it's been interesting because Dad, me being Dad, right? Dad is the one, or as the kids, right? Daddy and Mommy. So Daddy is the one that's able to actually, get her to fall asleep. So that makes me feel good because she, kids typically like are drawn to one or the other. So Thor has always been my kid, like always very much drawn to me, very much like a dad's boy. And, my daughter, on the other hand, has very much, been more towards my wife. And so my wife's been happy because like she always loves the quote. And again, we love to quote the birdcage here on the channel quite a bit. And so the quote we always use for that is, someone has to like me best. And so it's like every time that we're like, one child is choosing the other, it's always someone has to like me best. But it is funny to note because now for bedtime, it seems, again, still early, but seems like she's preferring Dad for that. Maybe it's because I instill confidence of some kind. I don't know. Jose Taco at 816. What's going on, Jose Taco? If Netflix gets Warner Brothers, do DVD sales go up because Netflix doesn't sell DVDs? So, I mean, that's one way of thinking about it. The other issue, though, is that it means now Warner Brothers content is either no longer going to be being put out in physical media form, or it's going to be winded down. So that's the big issue. So I have a lot of concerns over that very fact, because it's one thing for Netflix to want to limit the theatrical window, because that's a good and bad thing. It's good for consumers because it means that we get access to films much more quickly, which is nice. Very bad, of course, though, because for movie theaters, it's very much going to have a negative impact on them. Now, a lot of that could be fixed and be a relatively moot point if Hollywood was actually making good movies, though. This is something that the first Five Nights at Freddy's was so important in doing. What the first Five Nights at Freddy's movie showed was the whole day and date excuse. Remember, they used that excuse for Black Widow. They used that excuse for anything that did the day and date release on streaming and also in theaters. And the fact that it wasn't even just that it went on VOD the same day. It went on streaming the same day. You could watch Five Nights at Freddy's on Peacock the day it opened. And yet that film did great box office, was better than the sequel did, and the sequel didn't have day and date release. It's amazing that the first film did so much better than the second film did because of all those things that were really acting against the first film. It really speaks to how impressive that first film was. Their audience also, in an also impressive fashion for the second film, not to take anything away from that one, what the second film did was it actually showed, hey, they didn't really lose any audience. Their audience has been maintained. That's both a good and bad thing. It means they're not growing their audience, but they also haven't lost their audience either, and that's a good thing. But yeah, I'm more concerned for theaters because it'll have a huge impact on them. But it's not going to be because of the day and date. It's going to actually, or the shorter window. It's going to be because Hollywood's going to continue to put out the same nonsense. Prince Green saying, I will now be officially starting the one-man Greenland 2 fan club. Well, there you go. Harwick Gilda Gold is Harvey Dent's fiance and sometimes wife, depending on the story. I picked that up. Short saying, where's my hey guys with the Batman? I'm so sorry. You're right, Laura. I forgot to do that. Hey guys. Speaking of hey guys, we've got Steven back in. Oh boy. I need to stretch. I need to get warmed up because I'm about to be hit over the head with a million questions. All right. Steven, DJ Elite 07. What's going on, Steven? Saying, brother, great to hear from you again. How has the new year been treating you? I feel like you asked me this last time. As for me, I'm taking my winter break. Yeah, you mentioned this last time too. To get back in shape for the ladies when I go back to college next month. Well, how about instead you do it for your own health? How about that? The Morak saying, have you considered a category of worst animated film for the Ravens? No, because I honestly think that if a animated film is that bad, it'll get nominated for worst film or for one of them. And I do like having the 24 categories because it works very well with Oscars, with our Ravens bowling. So I learned about Oscars bowling from a great podcast, a great movie podcast that unfortunately died. And I really wish they would come back. I know that they had their reasons, but it was Movie BS with Baron Snyder. And it was a phenomenal movie podcast. And so every year they would do something called Oscars bowling. And the logic was, okay, there's a certain number of categories, right? 24 categories at the Oscars at the time. I think they've actually changed this since then because they combined the audio categories into like one, which again, crazy. And now I think they've added another one since. So I don't know what the numbers are now. I don't really even care at this point because the Oscars just don't matter. So what they would do though is say, all right, the 24th category, right? Let's just say 24 points. If you add 24, 23, 22, 21, all the way down to 1, right? If you just take the category name or the category number as a number value, you add all those together, you actually get to 300. Perfect score in bowling. And so what you would do is you would make predictions, and we'll do this for the Ravens once again like we've done previous years, and we'll do giveaways basically, so whoever has the highest score gets to choose between various movies and Blu-rays and 4Ks that I have available. And, you know, it'll be exciting to do that in March. But in that, we were able to, I lost my train of thought, do something similar because we also have 24 categories. And so that's why we can also do Ravens bowling because a perfect score would be a 300. We've had some people get into the 200 range, but it's hard to get up there in points because you're not just predicting what you think should win or what you want to win. You have to read the room, right? You have to be able to say, okay, what do I think the people voting in Odin's audience and also across the internet as well? Because again, it's not like the widest of all reaches, but there's definitely people who probably vote who don't watch me on the regular basis because I try to get the link out to as many people as possible once the ballots are live. But that's what you have to predict. And sometimes that can be a very difficult thing. The Nosferatu one, for instance, was one no one saw coming. And so it hurt a lot of people because it was a category people thought Deadpool Wolverine is guaranteed to get. And people lost a lot of points on that one. All right, let's see. Steven saying, you think Toy Story 5 will make or break Pixar? It's not going to make or break Pixar. Companies just don't really work that way. But Toy Story is such a massive IP. And because this is an actual Toy Story story and not the whole Lightyear nonsense, you know, whatever the heck they were trying to do there, I do think there's a good chance for it to do well, unfortunately. I think it might be it'll be a guaranteed billion-dollar film, unfortunately. Let's see. I just saw this comment, so I had to read it. Vivander, I used to dance my son to sleep to the old Brother Where Art Thou soundtrack. He's 26 now. Dang. Wow. That's cool. J.S. Pena, it's easy to kill a movie. Just switch it to January. Dr. Evil. Basically. But you mentioned this about singing. So yeah, I would always choose random songs. So when I was growing up when I was in high school, I was a big fan of bands like Something Corporate. Andrew McMahon, he went on to do a couple of other band projects. So he had Something Corporate with his punk rock band. Then he did Jack's Mannequin, which was, you know, very similar. It's because he's the writer. He's the songwriter and everything. So very talented piano player as well. So, you know, it still has a very similar styling. Not as punk, but still has that kind of like pop music style to it. And then he kind of went solo a bit, and so then it just became Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness. And he's got some good stuff still today. But some of my favorite stuff was back then. But there were a couple songs that I would sing from that. So there was a song called like As You Sleep. It's like, close your eyes and I will be swimming. Lullabies fill your room. So I'd sing like songs like that. And then one of the silliest songs I would sing, silly not because the song is silly, but rather because it's like, how even do you get there? I actually would also sing a Disturbed song. So on the Disturbed album, my music taste, by the way, is so crazy. All right. Because, yeah, I was just singing Jack's Mannequin, something corporate, punk, pop, rock. But then I'm also a fan of some of Disturbed's music, right? So on the Believe album by Disturbed, there is a song called like The Darkness. And it's like, don't turn away. I pray you've heard the words I've spoken. And even though the lyrics have nothing to do with anything, it's like the melody is very like soothing, and the music is very much like almost lullaby in that way. So anyway, you're welcome. Mikey Dreamer, good news for physical media today, as Alliance Entertainment got physical media distribution rights in North America for Amazon MGM Films, both new and film catalogs. Ooh, okay. That is pretty cool, Mikey Dreamer. Thank you for that. DJ Elite, do you think Mandalorian will do better business than Solo? There's no hype for it as for Solo. By now, there was for the pre-sale ticks hype, but still bombed. Yeah, I mean, remember when they were trying to sell us that Solo's pre-sales were so good? And look what that film did. So the issue with Mandalorian, so here's the thing. There's kind of like a multi-part here. Do I think it's going to do better than Solo? Yes. Do I think that it's going to be a success? No. It's going to do better than Solo because at the very least, it's going to have some recognizable characters. You can argue saying, but didn't Solo have the character of Han Solo? But yes, but the actor playing him was just not accepted in that role, was not accepted as that specific character. You didn't really have anybody to sell that movie. In this case, you do have a pre-established Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian himself. You have the people who are still fans of the show. The most successful Disney Plus Star Wars show, by far, right, is The Mandalorian. So that is automatically going to give it a higher starting point, right? A higher starting value, we could say. Do I think, though, it's going to be able to extend much beyond that? Probably not. So whereas Solo, crapped out very quickly and lost quite a bit of money, I think the range I gave last week on Friday Night Tights is between $400 and $700 million. Again, it's still very early, and so we just don't have enough data to make those types of projections official. But $400 to $700 million global sounds about right. And based on how much money they spent on that stuff, not good. Let's see. Steven's saying, so Warner Brothers officially rejects Paramount's new offer and sticking with Netflix. I'm assuming movie theaters will end sooner than 2025 will end sooner than 2025 box office overall time low by far. I mean, yeah, it's not going to be good for the theaters, but as I said earlier, the biggest reason and the biggest thing holding theaters back is the Hollywood system. It's the movies that are coming out. Because going back to the point I made earlier, because I don't know if my ADD brain allowed me to finish the thought, but the fact that Five Nights at Freddy's was able to make as much money as it did, it destroyed that narrative, right? That day and date release or that short theatrical windows harm movies. If you make a good movie, if you make an entertaining film, if you make a film that people actually want to see, they will go to see it. You get good word of mouth on a film, they will go and see it. But that's just not the way that they think these days. All right, the Morak saying here, stumbled across the trailer for I Was a Stranger. It looks interesting. I saw it didn't really do much this past weekend, but I'm going to try and get out to go and see it. Yeah, I remember someone mentioned that, I think in the comment section at one point. I Was a Stranger. Because I really had not heard much about it. It's formerly known as The Stranger's Case. It's a 2024 drama film directed, written by Brandt. Is that the same film? Oh, no. This is, okay, that was a different film. So this is the Angel Studios film Angel Studios is just, man, it's so frustrating. It says, when a Syrian doctor is forced to flee Aleppo with her young daughter, one desperate choice sets off a chain of events that ripples across the borders and pulls 5 strangers into the same storm. A smuggler trying to save his son, a soldier wrestling with his conscience, a poet searching for home, a Greek Coast Guard captain caught between duty and mercy. Their paths collide on a night in the Mediterranean where survival is uncertain and humanity is revealed in its rawest form. Based on 14 million true stories by Brant Anderson. So actually it was. So 2026 release being distributed by Angel Studios, but it was actually a film made in 2024. Yeah, okay, so it's actually a 2024 film release, but it got picked up for distribution by Angel. So this is not an Angel Studios movie. This is a film that they picked up. It says the film was the feature directorial debut of Brant Anderson. Anderson wrote the script of the film in 2017, following Donald Trump putting a controversial laptop ban on the United States-bound flights from certain airports in the Middle East. Anderson finished writing the script in a month as he returned to the United States under the title The Stranger's Case. The script was written as a feature film at first, but Anderson was unable to get the project off the ground despite Omar Sy's involvement in the project. And after a suggestion from a friend, Anderson made a short version of the film called Refugee. Filming took place in Jordan, Turkey, and Chicago. On every single day of shooting, the film had daily devotionals. The film was produced by Anderson, Osama Bawardi, Ryan Boos, and Charlie Endian. The film holds a 71% approval rating from Rotten Tomatoes. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an A-. Again, CinemaScore is worthless. Wendy Ide of Screen Daily called the film an ambitious and confident first feature. Robert Daniels of RogerEbert.com finds the film exciting, though manipulative in places. Languages of Arabic, English, and Greek. $1.2 million box office. Nothing about the overall cost. So its release date in the United States was actually December 31st, 2025. So technically, 2025 release, technically. Yeah, first time I'm hearing of that one. Or at least, very least, like processing it. I actually do think, shout out to Angel Studios because they do, send out screeners for me to be able to watch. I think they reached out to me about that one, but again, I just knew nothing about it. So I didn't really have a lot of interest. Paramount Netflix struggle for Warner Brothers is heating up. Paramount has filed a lawsuit against Warner Brothers, and President Trump posted on social that Netflix getting Warner Brothers should be stopped. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that. I think I mentioned this on one of the last Salty Saturday streams, that it would not surprise me if, Donald Trump got involved in some capacity. That just kind of what he does. All right, print screen. I could see Animal Farm being nominated for worst movies of Ravens next year. Probably. I mean, based off of everything that we're seeing, it's not looking very good. Steven saying, what do you think about the news about Star Wars? Starfighter, I think is what they're supposed to say. Gets Tom Cruise shooting a lightsaber. What? Isn't that fake news? King and Remsky, a personal question. When you sleep at night, does the thought of Steven sometimes wake you up in a cold sweat? Oh, man. Submit your nominations, guys. Submit your nominations. Banjo Sandwich saying that bowling game is hard. It is. Very, very hard. Banjo Sandwich saying bowling, you have to follow the shills. Yeah. But it's so hard, though. Because you would definitely think that, right? And yet, you do have sometimes those surprises. Right, with Nosferatu winning that one category, because I don't think anyone was thinking that was going to happen. Steven, was it a bad idea to recast Viggo Mortensen role for Lord of the Rings Hunt for Gollum movie? I mean, yes and no. I think the movie itself is not necessarily the best decision to be making right now, but you kind of have to, because Viggo Mortensen is much older these days. I don't know if he'd be able to do the same performance. You could argue saying, okay, but yeah, he's actually now probably closer to the role, to the age of the character. And so therefore it's like, could that work? But people are going to have the image of their mind of Viggo Mortensen as Aragorn, and they're going to have that very specific image there. And it's been a long time. It's been, 20 years? It's quite a long time. And he still looks great. I mean, I'm not saying he looks bad, And obviously makeup can do quite a bit, but it's the same reason why you had the recasting for the Resurrection movie. You know, Mel Gibson, the follow-up to Passion of the Christ. You know, he was really wanting to keep Jim Caviezel in that role. And they started doing some filming, and he clearly was like, we're not going to be able to make this work, because he wanted some level of consistency between the look of the character. And it was going to be too expensive to get it even close. Prince Green, I have an idea. Deadpool Wolverine would have had a more clean sweep at the Ravens if the Ryan Reynolds Blake Lively scandal had not happened. Oh, yeah, I don't remember when that happened in context, but I think that actually, Prince Green, now it's coming back to me, I think that did impact it. I think you're right. King Ramsky saying, no Metallica or Megadeth? No. All right, a trailer for Lee Cronin's The Mummy has been released. Rumor has it the movie didn't test well, and there's no actual mummy in it, just a person possessed by a mummy's ghost. Possessed by a mummy's ghost. Yeah, the trailer was interesting. The trailer was creepy. It's a movie I have no plans to see because of it, but Jasmine Dragon, the Warner Brothers stuff is crazy. Trump opposes the Netflix deal, and Paramount leveled up their tantrum by filing a lawsuit today and threatening to replace the Warner Brothers board. I don't know who's going to win. I mean, it honestly is. It's like, I've never seen such a crazy fight to own something. It's like, really? So, I mean, yeah, I honestly think the lawsuit would probably be to some, people might wonder, like, what's going on there. It's because, to my knowledge, Paramount is offering a better deal monetarily, or at least that's what the claim is. Therefore, because it's a public company, they have a monetary obligation, right? A fiduciary obligation to their investors, to their stockholders. So if there's a better deal on the table, they have an obligation to take that better deal because they have the obligation to do that. Now, I think also, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that one of the big differences between the Netflix deal, what Netflix is getting out of this versus what Paramount would be getting out of it, is it's not just the IP when it comes to the Paramount deal. That the Paramount side of things, the Paramount deal, if they were to go through with Paramount instead of Netflix, would include, I think, the television side, which is not included in the Warner Brothers deal with Netflix. So, again, what's the monetary value of that? Is that being accounted for? I don't know. I'm not a financial analyst when it comes to companies buying each other out. But yeah, I mean, my guess is that if they can prove that they are offering a significantly better deal and that this is clearly a denial because of like political grounds or something like that, maybe. But it's also funny because they're trying to sue somebody so that somebody will accept their payment of billions of dollars. It's like, what's going on? Hardwick just found out that, by the way, I did see, sorry, going back to Hardwick's comment, I did see that trailer. Sorry, I already said that. Woof. We're going to wrap things up soon, guys, because my brain's starting to go. Hardwick says, I just found out that Disney Plus has deleted Togo as a tax write-off. That's a shame because out of all the Disney Plus productions I've seen, it's one of the best ones. Oh, yeah, I remember when that one came out. That is sad. Luckily, the internet's forever, so if you wanted to find a copy, I'm sure you could find it. Let's see. I saw I Was a Stranger. I enjoyed the film. It's interesting way they told the story from 5 different perspectives and to tie them together. It is well worth checking out. That's really cool, Mikey Dreamer. Cool to hear that. It doesn't always work out that way, though, when you're trying the different perspectives. It reminds me of a really bad movie that came out called Vantage Point. I think it was called Vantage Point. And it was so funny being in the theater because it became such a drag that when the film restarted for like the 4th time, there was the audible groans in the audience like, oh, not again. It's like, really? Oh, man, I remember that. Jasmine Dragon, I'm so curious about the lawsuit. Warner Brothers' concerns are super valid, and I want to know what rights they have. To say a company doesn't have total control of who they sell to is wild. Harley then says, Tom Cruise isn't in Starfighter, but he visited the set and filmed an action scene as the cameraman, not an actor. Sean Levy has confirmed that the scene will be in the final movie. Okay. Again, it's just like he held the camera. What are we doing? That is levels of desperation at that point. See, Tom Cruise, not a Star Wars movie, but hey, he held the camera. Jasmine Dragon. I think Paramount is fighting so hard because this was Ellison's only plan. He had no intention to build Paramount's success. He wanted to buy it. Could be. Steven saying, what's your top 10 movies you're most anticipating for 2026? Or at least, bro, this is why Steven drives me crazy. I have an entire stream dedicated to my most anticipated films of the year. Go back and watch it, Steven. I'm not going to repeat it because you don't pay attention. This is why the origin story of Steven being evil needs to be written. Caveat Ties says, somebody once sued me. The song, not really me. Good. Jasmine Dragon saying, correct. Paramount wants everything. Allegedly, Discovery bought Warner Brothers to flip it. They want to keep the TV business. Paramount appears to value Discovery at $30 million, and they don't like that. Yeah, that's, I think, the big issue. And it'd be interesting to see exactly what they can prove in court, and again, what kind of evidence they would actually have to prove. Right? Can you prove value? I guess theoretically you possibly could. But anyway, that being said, I've caught up with the chat, and I'm getting tired. So we talked about a little box office throughout, but I guess the one last update I'll give is a very quick overview of the box office. People probably are really tired of me talking about it at this point because, you know, the big news is really only about one thing, and that's Avatar. But you know what? It worked earlier. Let's see if we can work it again. Let's get 2 of these in to make up for last week. But let's talk a little bit about it.
See a real mathematician at work.
That's right. It's time for some math. See, real mathematician at work. So people are getting very, very upset because they hate the fact that you know, numbers don't lie. And ultimately, when it comes to Avatar: Fire and Ash versus The Way of Water, it's not even close. Even when you don't adjust for inflation, all right, it is right now looking like Avatar: Fire and Ash is going to end its theatrical run around $1.5 billion. Overall, not terrible. It'll, however, mean it's only getting a very small amount in comparison to everything else, amount of profit, because it's still not profitable yet. And that it's going to be likely $700 to $800 million less than what Way of Water did back just a few years ago. If you actually adjust these numbers for inflation, the story gets that much worse, though, because then you're looking at this number potentially being a loss of almost $1 billion in value between the second and third movie. This is what I've been talking about for a long time. People don't like that I'm talking about it, but it's true. These numbers are not sustainable for the future of this franchise. We have now seen and are looking likely to see once again 2 massive drops in a row, with each film losing roughly, $600 to $1 billion in value every time. In fact, it's increasing quite a bit. Between the first film and the second film, it was a certain number, but again, that's not adjusting for inflation. So I would say it probably is a loss of $1 billion in value every time at this point, if you were to actually adjust the numbers. That, I think, is showing us just how unsustainable the franchise is going to be going forward, because they're going to continue to cost a crap ton of money to make these films. And they are continuing to lose their audience every single time. I don't see how they are able to recoup this. I really don't. All right, let's get to the last comments and then get out of here. So please don't ask any more questions. Jasmine Dragon saying, 30 billion, I meant. Thank you for indulging me in this. Have a great night. Jasmine Dragon, thank you. Appreciate it. Keely Chow here late. Wendy Hunter saying, thanks for the extra math, of course. Hardwick saying, Sean Levy said that the scene shot by Tom Cruise is a lightsaber duel, and then he got Tom Cruise to ruin his shoes by walking into pond water as a part of the shooting scene. Again, is that supposed to make me excited? Like, that is to me the most desperate stuff. It's like, oh man, he stepped in water, guys. You have no idea. I don't care. It's like, that does not make me excited at all. Steven, since last week the math sound was muted, may you please do it one more time? Goodness gracious. This guy, he doesn't listen. He just puts comments in, doesn't listen to anything I say in response, and that's the reason why he repeats himself. This dude, I tell you, drives me nuts. Wayne here saying thanks and have a great night. Absolutely. Thank y'all very much for watching, everybody. This has been fun as always. I'm going to go have something sweet and then probably play a little bit more Arc Raiders because, man, oh, man, that game has been so much fun. I'm working on getting the January shout-outs taken care of. Again, I always fall behind on these things. It's always hard to find the time to, like, sit down and get those hashed out. So I promise I will get them as soon as I possibly can, though. So thank you all very much for your patience on that. I might have time tomorrow. I have a couple off periods, and so as long as I get my schoolwork done, I can get that. And thank you very much for your love, your support, for all the new members here on the channel, on the YouTube side of things at the very least, and for those that have been members for the longest of times. Thank you again for being so supportive. I do like ice cream. I just don't have any with me right now. So, and I don't even know why I answered that, because you're not even going to, dude. Oh my gosh, this guy can't be real. This guy can't be real. No more questions. Oh, let me go ahead and ask a bunch of questions. I'm gonna throw a random one out there. Are you gonna play Star Fox 64? Steven. Anyway, thank y'all very much for watching tonight, guys. Y'all are the best. I love you. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. And hey, vote in the Raven Awards. The link to vote in the Ravens still in the description. Whether you're watching on YouTube or on Rumble, it's in the video description. So please be sure. Please be sure to do that. All right. Nominations end on Friday. So thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Rest of your evening. A blessed Monday. And as always, God bless. And now let me give a shout out to all of my Chosen of Valhalla members, starting off first with my Patreon members, Father Luca Illick, hail to you, Father, and also to Miss Mountain Muses. Check out her YouTube channel by the same name, Miss Mountain Muses. She is very lovely, great, awesome Catholic faith-based content over there. You'll also find over on Subscribestar my member Matt317. He is on Twitch with the same channel name, Matt317. Shout out to you, good sir. And also to a longtime member here, Mr. Roy, my Chosen of Valhalla member here on YouTube. Mr. Roy, thank you for always hanging out and for always being a part of this channel. It does mean a lot, as well as it does for all of my Chosen of Valhalla members. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream or video, or if you want it listed in that list that was playing just before, just now, check out the top link in the video description below. You'll find out how to get those types of shout outs at the end of every live stream and video. Not to mention, you get access to bonus video content and also access to a Discord server where there are a couple of channels on there where I do giveaways every single month. In fact, I do multiple giveaways every single month. I try to make it so that I'm giving away Blu-rays and 4Ks that make up at least 4 or 5 different giveaways. Sometimes I have to put them in all towards the very end because back in the school session, of course, now means that I'm going to be a little bit more delayed there. So if you want access to things like that, if you want access to a great community, you guys seriously are all amazing and beautiful. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.